Hello, and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. And today we're going to be talking about... I got a message from someone... We're going to be talking about... Are motorcycle riders bad in America? Like, bad skill level wise. And I got a message from someone, and I believe the person who released the video is Yami Noob, and the person who messaged me and asked, hey, do you think riders are in general worse in America? And also to put this up front, right, this is just purely based on my observational experience. I personally have not looked into any of the statistics. I haven't seen Yami Noob's video, so I don't know precisely what actually is being pointed at as the problem, right? I'm only going to talk to what I have personally seen myself and what I think. And I will start off by saying, yes, I do think the standard of riding here is worse than at home anyway. And I don't think that's entirely like the rider's fault. Having been through the licensing system here, because I had to get a new driver's license and a new motorcycle license when we moved here, compared to what I had to do at home in Ireland to get a full motorcycle license, the difference was kind of mind-blowing. I don't think the system here in North Carolina, and I don't know is it the same everywhere, but the system here in North Carolina, it's not really giving young riders the best chance. You know, if you've been driving a car for 20, 30 years, generally speaking, and this is another generalization, and there's going to be lots of generalizations in this video, because there kind of has to be when you're talking about statistics, but generally speaking, if you're an experienced car driver, you'll step onto motorcycles a lot better than if you're just starting out entirely, which that's why young riders are at such risk, because they are starting out on doing everything entirely fresh. And this is in no way an America bashing video. I like America. I live here on purpose, alright? Like, this is not just me like coming in with the big old smash hammer because it's a popular thing to do online, is, you know, bashing America for XYZ. That's not me, alright? I want to get that out up front. I like it here. I'm here on purpose, alright? Preparation wise, the licensing system here it's a joke, honestly. Like, you know, Toaster could have went in, done her little 3-day course, going around the training yard, and then she could have went and bought any bike she wanted, right? She sat a theory test and did the 3-day course, and I'm glad the 3-day course exists, but also that is a weakness here, because like back in Ireland, you know, you do a 3-day IBT as well, but it's much more involved, and it's smaller groups. And also you actually have to physically go onto like public roads and ride with your instructor. So it's, you know, you're getting a taste of riding on the road. And up until a certain age, which I believe is 24, you know, there's no direct access. With direct access being, if you're above a certain age, I believe 24, you can just basically jump on any bike you want, right? So that is still a failing of certain systems, but again, you have to qualify on that bike. In Ireland, or all of Europe is essentially the same exact system, right? So, like I said, preparedness from a regulatory point, I think does a disservice to young American riders, because if you're 18, 19, whatever, you go do your 3 days, which a lot of it is in the yard. It's just literally just in a yard, so you're doing basic skills and stuff, but that's about it. Oh, that is purdy. Nice. Pity was on the phone, but nice car. And again, not to say that those skills people learn on whatever the course is here. I don't think it's MSF. It might be MSF. It might be. But either way, the skills that you learn in NC on the MSF, they're important. Dear God. But I don't think it's like proper roadcraft. Like, the guy who taught me on my IBT would just point out all the things that were very likely to end my life and how to watch out for those, and those were the things that I should be focusing on. Like that person back there who had slowed down but not indicated yet. But like, if I was on a faster bike, I would have been on them faster, and I likely would have wanted to overtake them. But you have to consider that someone might take like a quick left turn and stuff. So I do think that's a huge part of the issue is that, you know, people aren't really given enough training. Like, I don't think they're put out into the motorcycling world ready to be as safe as possible, because the speed stuff comes. Everyone wants to go out and everyone wants to go fast. I mean, I was the same. I'm not going to say I wasn't. I'm not going to lie to you. But you can't just go out and immediately do that. Like, riding motorcycles is a skill. It's a much bigger skill than driving a car, in my opinion, and I do both. So I do think I'm oh, that's a lot of gravel. This bike is so much fun. You know, I do think I'm someone who can comment on it because I ride bikes and I drive cars, right? And I think there's much more skill involved, much more skill. So there's that part of it. The other part of it is the drivers here, and I see a lot of accidents that cause fatalities in around Raleigh and whatnot, and everyone's out on highways going fast in straight lines, and the thing is with that's all well and good, right? But if you can go really fast in a straight line but you haven't learned how to brake and turn and emergency stop and all that, like, I'll show you up here, right? I'm going to take a right turn. There's no one behind me, I've checked. So I'm going to brake really late for this as if it's an emergency. There's my right turn. I'm going to go hard on the brakes, gear down, still on the brakes, and I'm turning in, right? There's a lot of people who don't know how to do that, and they wouldn't be comfortable doing that, right? Without locking up the brakes. And ABS might save you, but ABS can still move you in a direction that you didn't intend to go, and then you might hit a car or a wall or a barrier, and that's that. So there's also a lot of, I'm going to call it culture in general, right? So there's car drivers, and car drivers are car drivers, right? And if you're new to motorcycles and you're watching this video, just always assume that is a huge house. Always assume that all car drivers are out to make sure that you never get on a bike again, because honestly, that's how a lot of them behave. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is, and if you've been on bikes long enough, you kind of know that to be true. It's not intentional, right? Like, no one goes out, I hope, being like, oh, I'm gonna crash into a bike today and make sure they don't go home and live a happy life, right? I don't think anyone does that, and I don't think anyone thinks like that. I'm sure that, well, there's probably a couple of crazy people, but we won't worry about them. We can't do anything about them, right? And then the culture piece is honestly probably, I think, the most impactful. I'll put up, if I can find it, I'll put up a photo of me on this bike. I am a very large human, and I know I look too big for this bike, and I don't care. This is a 500cc twin. It's a very manageable bike. It's nice and light. It's not too fast to get you too in trouble. It's plenty fast to be fun. It accelerates predictably. It stops predictably. It has ABS. But a lot of people will, like, even people I know have looked at me and been like, you're way too big for that bike. Why would you ever ride it? This bike is fun. This is a great bike. Anyone who looks at someone and says, you shouldn't be on that bike because you're too big for it, or you're a man, you're a moron. You're a moron, and you've probably killed someone. And it really, really, really annoys me, because over here you have people who are like, no, you're wrong, GorillaBiker. A starter bike, a 600, it's not even big enough. You need to get on 1000cc as a starter bike. You'll outgrow a 500 twin in a day. You're all morons. And I'm sorry, I usually don't get too mad about this, but it bothers me so much. You know, people come in and are like, you're too big for a 500cc. I have gotten so much abuse from the first ride review I did on this bike and said, hey, this is a great bike. You could easily start on this and have a great time. The amount of messages I've gotten on Instagram, like, you're going to waste people's money. You're too big for that bike. No one will ever enjoy it. You're wrong. I'm out on it right now, and it's such a fun bike to ride. Like, am I going to go touring the world on it? Probably not. But would I do it on the CB500X or something? Yes, I absolutely would go around in that, because I'd be more comfortable on it. Who cares it's a 500? It's just so stupid. So there's that factor that you have people, you know, getting into people's heads thinking like, oh, they won't be cool if they ride a 500, or the bike is too small and you look silly. That's one side of it. And then the second side of it is just like what the community does. And this one, it's you can't really blame this, right? But obviously when I moved over here, I wanted to find other bike friends to ride with. So I joined some Facebook groups and stuff, and then I never really interacted with them, because I noticed several of the group rides that were organised, there was a fatal crash on them, and I was like, that's not something I really want to be involved in. When I looked at it, it was, again, it's a culture thing, and I'm not blaming anyone in the group. I'm not blaming any of the organisers. I'm not blaming the people who crashed. Accidents happen, but also if you put yourself into a situation where you're more likely to have an accident and get hurt, it's just, obviously you should try to avoid that. And they would go out and they'd do, you know, and I know it's a popular thing over here because like 650 used to do them. Was it Smackdowns or something? Oh, look, are those alpacas? Oh my god, they're alpacas. Oh, what? That's so cool. Alright, this day is wonderful now. What 650 used to do, you know, is Smackdowns and stuff, and it's just to go out and go like really, really fast in a straight line on a highway, which personally, I don't find anything wrong with that. I think speed limits are stupid. Like just as a point there, right, you can corner plenty fast on these things as well. Like this, I don't know. People upset me sometimes. Sometimes I get a little bit too upset. But that whole thing about, like, you know, a bike looking too small for someone. Like, what are you talking about? People have went around the world on this 500 platform. They've loaded it up. Like, you can do anything you want to on pretty much any bike. Some bikes you can't. But like these ones, these 500s, absolutely magnificent platform. But anyway, so you have all these situations where people are going out and they're getting on these group rides, and again, nothing wrong with that group ride. I mean, I'm a huge, I love seeing motorcyclists get together and have fun, but you know, they're over here again. It's a cool thing, right? Oh wait, I went the wrong way. I don't want to go this way. I'm gonna have to do a quick U-turn here. I'm not waiting for all this. Well, yeah, so you have that whole thing, the cool factor and everything else, and then you have people going out, and again, you know, it's like they're trying to keep up with the group, which is never a healthy option. It really isn't. Trust me. If you're going out and you're trying to ride way past your ability, and again, it's not people's fault, right? Because it goes back to the preparedness thing. Like you're let out on the road with whatever bike, and also I've been in dealerships here and I've seen this happen. Like, people will go in and salespeople want to make, not all salespeople, there's some very, very decent salespeople out there, obviously. I would say most of them are very decent, to be fair. Like I said, I've witnessed people walk in and a dealer being like, nah, you need the 1000cc, you're a big guy. I mean, it happened with me when I first moved over here. Like, the guy never asked my experience level and whatever else. He had no idea. I could have been fresh onto bikes, and he was trying to recommend me a Hayabusa because I'm large. And like, you do not want to be an inexperienced rider on a Hayabusa, you know what I mean? It's a lot of weight and everything to try stop. It's not just about the going, it's about the stopping and the turning and everything else. And even like, I am, you know, I'm partially to blame for that. Toaster was never 100% comfortable on the CB750 as opposed to this. Like, when she got on this, it's just so much lighter, so much more manageable. This one, they just made friends a lot quicker, say, right? And I mean, that to me is also just wonderful to see, because obviously the more people get involved, the happier someone is with their bike, the happier I am. So that huge cultural piece, whether it be going out in group rides, because someone's trying to learn, right, and they go out in the group rides and they ride past the limit, and they maybe they don't even know they're riding past the limit, and then they get badly hurt, and that's terrible. And just the culture of going really fast in a straight line here as well, which, I mean, I like going fast, and I'm not talking down to that. I'm just talking down to doing it when it makes more sense, when people have more experience, you know. And I don't personally really ever like to see people, you know, over-regulated. Like, you should be able to buy what you want. But if you want to structure it that way, if you want to structure it in that you can buy whatever you want, you have to have that initial qualification at a much higher level, you know what I mean? Because also, like, it really depends. Like, you don't know if someone, and I think a great part of that is, you know, Hatter JBK, a good friend of mine, you know, he was telling me when he first wanted to ride a bike, he had a good dealer who looked after him. He went in and, you know, the person who was selling the bike recognized very quickly that he could not ride a bike yet, and said, no, absolutely not, go learn to ride a bike and come back, right? Otherwise, who knows what had be here, all right? And that would suck. But that's how that happens, right? That's literally how that happens. If someone, gets it in their head that they want to get a bike, and then, they do or maybe they don't. In NC, you have to have a bike license of some kind. And then they go on ahead and they get their bike. But if that initial hurdle, if everything after the first hurdle is just unlimited bike, whatever you want, right? If that initial hurdle isn't steep enough or high enough, people who make these rules are to blame for these accidents, in my opinion, right? And then there's the culture piece, whether it be just like people like going fast, or people think that you should be on a bigger bike because smaller bikes aren't cool. Which, by the way, I brought this out on purpose. Number one, it needed a run. Number two, I brought it out because it's like, I don't think, statistically, there's not many people much bigger than me, height-wise. And I know people, I know for a fact people have laughed at me from photos of me on certain bikes. I don't care, and you shouldn't care. You should care about what you can afford, what you can have fun on, and what you can use. If you're absolutely terrified of a bike's weight, power, whatever, if it just makes it not manageable for you, you're not going to have fun on it, you're not going to enjoy it. So, yeah, I don't think this is a super tricky one to solve. I think on average bike riders over here are worse than a lot of what I've seen in Europe, and I think almost entirely the blame lies with the licensing system. But I would encourage anyone who cares about this, like if you know someone who's learning, do what I did, bring them out with you, don't let them off on their own until you're comfortable that they're good. But yes, to answer the question, I do think on average in NC, where I have experience and whatnot, I do think motorcycle riders are worse. And I do think the one I do know is, I think, because I've read this somewhere else, I believe it's 67 motorcyclists per 100,000 or 10,000. It's one or the other. I think on average in Europe it's in the tens. So 10 to 20. So even if you say 10 to 20, that means that in America you're 3 times more likely to be in a fatal collision if you're a motorcyclist. And for sure some of that is drivers' faults, but a lot of it lies with us, and I think that's on us to try fix. Like I said, if you have a friend learning or whatever else, help them, take them to one side, tell them that they're better off starting on a 500. Even if they only have it for a year or two, even if they lose money on it, that's a big thing I hear. It's like, well, I don't want to lose money on the bike, I just want to buy the one I want to keep. And I've made videos in the past, there's nothing wrong with that, provided you know your limits and stuff. But if you're especially young man, it's probably better off not to give yourself that temptation. You know what I mean? We're not the best at controlling ourselves when it comes to having a really fast bike. Anywho, I'm going to turn around and get home because I still have to make dinner and whatnot. But that's it. Let me know what you think. If I offended anyone, I did not mean to, right? I mean this from a place of actually caring, right? I mean this from a place of, I wish it wasn't like this. I mean this from a place where I hate to see people getting hurt, right? That's what I'm talking about. But one of these, a little 500, I genuinely think is hard to beat. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like I said, don't get mad. This is just me, observational opinion based, and I would like to see no one obviously die, but that's an impossibility, right? And that's another farce that you get, that politicians and whatnot are like, we must stop all road deaths. You're never going to do that unless you just stop people getting on the road. Accidents happen, right? And they always will. As much as we'd all like them not to, they always will. Obviously we'd all like no one to get hurt ever, but well, some people deserve to get hurt. But in general, I think no one wants to see that. But I think we can reduce it as a bike community. These bikes are cool. If you fit on one at all comfortably, it is a great starter bike. Obviously, some people will have physical limitations that they won't be able to enjoy something like this. But look at 500s, look at 400s. A real prime example of that is my friend Rafa, who started off on a Ninja 400. And even when we rode together, and I live what I say. You know, I told him, hey, if you keep riding like that, eventually, you know, you're going to have an accident, because he was pushing that bike through corners, but that bike could hang on because it's a 400, it's light. And with a lot of other bikes, they would have bitten him a lot sooner, and that's why you don't want to start off on something that's too powerful, too heavy, because it will bite you. And he got all the experience that he got to learn without it biting him, and then he had someone, me, thankfully, who was able to spot that and say, hey, chill on that one, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think? And again, this wasn't like trying to be mean to America. It's because I care, and I don't think it's riders' fault largely. I think it's riders who aren't trying to teach people, and it is on you if you're riding with people to tell them, like, go to your limit, don't go crazy. And it's on the licensing system, you know. Yeah, like I said, give me your opinions, give me your thoughts. And that's it. Until next time, if you watched, thank you very much for watching. As always, a very special thank you to all of my patrons. I do appreciate your support. Until next time, thanks again. Adios. Outro crew, I'm interested to know, what bike did you start on? And like, I know a lot of people started on dirt bikes and then graduated to a road bike, which I think personally, by the way, again, fantastic idea. I think that's one of the better ways to grow onto like a faster road bike, is starting on dirt bikes and whatever else, because you know you're learning in a different environment, but all of those skills are transferable. But yeah, let me know, what bike did you start on, and do you think is it a bike that you would recommend others that you care about to start on? And if it's not a bike you'd recommend people you cared about to start on, would you recommend it to your enemies? Bye, outro crew. It's not slippiness, it's the rear shock with me on it. Okay, so if you hit a corner too aggressively with a little bump in it, and if you're a bigger person, the rear end moves around a little bit. Hello, alpacas. Those are so cool. Interesting. Basically, if you're as heavy as I am and you want to push one of these a little bit faster around corners, you're gonna probably need to get shocks, which is fine. This is not my bike, so it works perfectly for who it's intended for. We'll do a little brake test into this stop sign. I might die here. Let's find out. 55 now. These brakes are so good. I'm genuinely impressed with this bike. Oh, I like this bike. I like this bike a lot.